Comrades, fellow travelers, brothers and sisters, I'm the Stormy Poet, and welcome to this edition of Poethnic Justice.
A legal battle over privacy for officers involved in a raid. At the center of it, rapper Afro Man. After police searched his home, he used surveillance video of it in a music video and put images on merchandise. Now, some of the officers are suing. Our Alex Brochet traveled to Afro Man's hometown of Winchester, Ohio, to learn more about the case that brought officers there and why Afro Man decided to turn his experience into viral songs.
I was feeling most rappers, when they portray the police, they have to hire actors. Thanks to the Adams County Sheriff Department, they saved me a whole lot of money. They came over here with guns to kill me. The best thing I came up with was write songs about my experience and try to sell them and make some money to pay for the destruction that they brought to my house.
On August 21st last year, deputies from the Adams County Sheriff's Department pulled up in front of Afro Man's house in Winchester.
Was driving home, like 65 miles away from home, I get a call. My kids was next door playing in the yard when they could see the police officers pulling up.
Armed with long guns and wearing tactical gear, the officers kicked down the door and entered the property. The whole thing playing out on Afro Man's security cameras. Afro Man says he watched his house get raided right from his phone.
No matter how hard you try to be a law-abiding citizen, this is how, America treats you, I felt powerless.
The warrant obtained for this raid lists some serious allegations, evidence of drug possession and trafficking, as well as kidnapping. It also states that the police received a tip from a confidential informant who had seen large amounts of weed and money at the property and claimed Afro Man kept women locked in his basement.
I didn't get charged. I didn't kidnap. I don't know where they got that. You know what I'm saying? And I think they just made it up. And I talked to the head officer. I asked him if I was under arrest. He said no. Then I asked him, were there any charges? He said no. Then I asked him if he would help me put my door back on the hinges and help me fix my gate. And that's when he cracked a little smile and said, we're not required to do that.
Back on August 21st, 2022, the rapper and musician Afro Man, whose real name is Joseph Edgar Foreman, had his house in Winchester, Ohio, illegally invaded by the Adams County Sheriff's Department. The piece of tissue paper signed by the judge, the warrant, claimed the deputies were investigating drug and kidnapping allegations and alleged that the police received a tip from a confidential informant who had seen large amounts of weed and money at the property and claimed Afro Man kept women locked in his basement. Notice the warrant didn't say there'd been any ongoing investigation over an extended period of time or that there was some kind of video footage or multiple eyewitness accounts. It didn't say there was any concrete evidence supporting the informant's claims, nor did it say exactly what this, quote, informant ever saw. Just what was Afro Man doing exactly? Was he carrying around huge bundles of cash and weed in and out of the house for the entire neighborhood to see in plain sight? That's just the kind of thing some hardened super thug gangster hoodlum like Afro Man, someone who has no criminal records whatsoever, would do, right? By the way, I tried to find the judge who signed off on this warrant, but the white media is doing what they always do in protecting the names of these racists and law enforcement in the judicial system. They all lock arms when it's time to expose these wicked individuals to the public. Well, that's just too bad for ABC, aka Anything But Coloreds, and for Judge Roy Gabbard, who signed off on the illegal search warrant, because the public took it upon themselves to call out this vile creature. Here's an Instagram post Afro Man put up of Judge Droopy, as he'll accurately dubbed him. Hell, Droopy could probably make a better judge than this creep, exposing these thugs and calling them out by name anytime they try to pull this unconstitutional Gestapo nonsense is exactly what we as citizens who believe in liberty and justice should do. And that's what I call being gangster in my book. Another thing he did that was gangster was taking this instance of an obvious Nazi-style home invasion and turning it right back around on the Adams County Sheriff's Department by not only profiting off of it by making 2 songs about it by the names of Will You Help Me Repair My Door and Lemon Pound Cake, but then he used that very footage of the home invasion from his security cameras directly in his music videos, and he didn't blur out the faces. He didn't block out the faces of these home invaders and made it plain as day for all the world to see. Now, fam, I think that's a pretty damn good example of how to exercise power right there, if I have to say. Rather than complaining and moaning about his rights having been violated or going on some F these crackers blaxploitation tirade, and rather than going in some interview and saying how much he forgave what those thugs did to his home, he found a creative way to expose everyone involved and to turn an actual profit off of it. By the way, the Adams County Sheriff's Department was forced to get back the $400 they stole during the home invasion. I guess they figured a person of his status wouldn't notice $400 was missing, or that a black man wouldn't actually go through with the time and effort it took to fight something like that. You know, it's like when you get those tickets from the fire chief for supposedly tampering with the firearm when you haven't touched it, and when that municipality is just kind of counting on you not to show up in court and fight it. Well, Afro Man showed them, nah, I got time, and I'm gonna need those 4C notes back. That's how you pull a power move, folks. When these types of things go down, when we're mistreated, we need to operate in exactly such a manner. The only language gangsters understand, in this case the white supremacists, is you being gangster right back in their faces. Now you just know the ass clowns over at the Adams County Sheriff's Department weren't going to take that big ass L sitting down, and those cops who are supposed to be these rough and tough crusaders of justice and of keeping law and order are now in the most butthurt fashion actually suing Afro Man over the videos and songs, claiming the officers, quote, suffered humiliation, ridicule, mental distress, embarrassment, and loss of reputation after the music videos were released, end quote. Now it gets no more childish, whiny, and pathetic to sue someone after you illegally entered their home, damaged their property, violated their privacy, and stole from them, to turn around and sue them just for calling you out about it. Here are a group of people whose literal duty is to be the ones to have the mental fortitude to put their lives on the line to protect the citizens, claiming that ridicule brought on somehow by videos is somehow causing them mental distress. These are the ones who the citizens of Adams County, Illinois are counting on to put their lives on the line to protect them. They sound like emotionally immature little brats to me. And ultimately, this is the mindset of the white supremacists, to pitch and moan and throw full-blown temper tantrums when they don't get their way. This is the MO of the, quote, mighty Aryan race. Talk about if Butthurt was a person. Their claim even demanded they should receive the proceeds that Afro Man made using their image. Look, when it comes to you morons over at the Adams County Sheriff's Department, listen here, stupid. You guys are a law enforcement agency, or at least you're supposed to be. You're not some brand that some athlete or celebrity has created for the purposes of profit. On top of that, your reputation was damaged by your own actions and your own actions alone. I mean, heck, when it comes to things like home invasions, you guys are supposed to be the one documenting this stuff on videotape anyway. The cameras set up in Afro Man's home were merely documenting your incompetence and displaying it for the world to see. Now, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I'm not a fan of Afro Man's music, and I definitely don't endorse the weed culture he raps about. What I can say, though, is I can't do anything but pop my collar to how he handled this situation. It's one thing trying to get a settlement from the city when these kinds of things happen, but that doesn't hit these PDPs where it hurts. The tax-paying citizens just end up footing the bill for that. But more importantly, it doesn't help to prevent the next home invasion. They needed to be exposed and exposed big, and Mr. Foreman did it in a way where it got maximum exposure, and I absolutely love that. I love when these devils get caught red-handed. Mr. Foreman didn't try going up against law enforcement or the judicial system directly, by suing them or by trying to turn the public against them, that will be fighting them in their arena. Robert Greene's 33 Strategies of War talks about that. You lure your enemy into an arena of your preference to battle them, in this case the music arena, especially if it's an enemy much more powerful than you. I'll just say I'm very glad Joseph Edgar Foreman wasn't at home at the time when this happened, and I'm glad his children who lived nearby weren't in the house when these Gestapo came busting through the door, because this had Breonna Taylor vibes written all over it. And all these thugs would have had to say was, I thought I saw a gun, or I feared for my life. And it could have turned out very, very different. I think there's a great deal to learn from situations like these. And when it comes to overthrowing an institution as vile and yet as powerful as systemic racism, we will not have come into our own as black people until we begin to punish those who practice it by exercising power over them. One love and one justice. The Stormy Poet. I'll just say I'm very glad Joseph Edgar Foreman wasn't at home at the time when this happened, and I'm glad his children who lived nearby weren't in the house when these Gestapo came busting through the door, because this had Breonna Taylor vibes written all over it, and all these thugs would have had to say was, I thought I saw a gun, or I feared for my life, and it could have turned out very, very different. I think there's a great deal to learn from situations like these, and when it comes to overthrowing an institution as vile and yet as powerful as systemic racism, we will not have come into our own as Black people until we begin to punish those who practice it by exercising power over them. One love and one justice. The Stormy Poet.